Ladies and gentlemen, let's Game and Telecom video. Let's discuss the news of Samsung's recent announcement that they are indeed entering into mass production of 1GB GDDR5 DRAM memory modules. So what does that mean? Well, this is an article, by the way, you can check it out if you so desire, but they have led with a press release. I'll read the press release first. It said, designed in use with graphics cards for PCs and supercomputing applications and onboard graphics memory for games consoles and notebook PCs, began the Samsung press release. Discrete graphics card DRAM provides an extensive amount of memory bandwidth to process large, high-quality, graphically orientated data streams. We expect that our 8GB GDDR5, we'll get into gigabit in just a second, GDDR5 will provide original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, with the best graphics memory solutions available for games consoles as well as for general use notebook PCs. This was from the Executive Vice President of Memory Sales and Marketing over at Samsung. And by expanding our production of 20nm based DRAM products, including the new GDDR5, we will meet an increasing global customer demand and take the lead in accelerating the growth of premium memory market. So, there's already been speculation that this could indeed help the PlayStation 4 Slim come to light, as well as possibly the next generation Nintendo console. So let's discuss that. First, I do want to clarify a small point. What exactly did they mean by 8GB? Well, to summarize, 8GB is the same as 1GB, and it's kind of an interchangeable term, and I don't really like how the press release kind of went back and forth, but there you have it. But anyway, on the PlayStation 4, just so you're aware, I'm pretty sure many of you are, it has 8 gigs of RAM, so 8GB. That means it currently requires 16 512MB chips to provide all of that RAM. With this latest announcement, they could do the same, but with only 8 chips, which obviously would cut down the size of the PCB. We've already discussed quite at length actually that Microsoft are working with AMD to reduce the size of their APU from 28nm down to 20, and it's pretty logical to conclude the same thing is going to be happening over at Sony. But while the GDDR5 does provide extra memory bandwidth over DDR3, it's also more difficult at the moment to get in large quantities in terms of, you know, the actual data size of the DIMM. And Microsoft do have some options, for example LPDDR3, but Sony have been fairly limited until now, so this definitely is going to help them. But that's not the only potential benefit, Nintendo as well. So we've discussed previously Nintendo and the rumours, the persistent rumours, that they are of course not only working on the next generation console, but it's going to be released at some point in 2016. Now, if you take those rumours and you follow them with a logical conclusion, the logical conclusion being that if you marry up the fact that there are reports that AMD are working with Nintendo, AMD have said, they've gone on record and said they are working with a console manufacturer, a new console manufacturer. They have not, however, specified who. However, since Nintendo are working on a next generation console, Nintendo and AMD have said this, we can basically put 2 and 2 together. So let's assume that it is AMD working on this. That would mean that they are working on another APU. Therefore, logically, if you follow that line of reasoning, the next generation Nintendo console, if it's coming out in 2 years' time, should be more powerful than the PS4 and Xbox One, simply because it's going to be newer. It should be at least as powerful, right? Because the PC APUs now, they're about as powerful as the Xbox One in terms of like the number of GCN cores. In 2 years' time, who knows what's going to be on the horizon. So therefore, logically, there's a couple of options that Nintendo could go. They could go with DDR3 and then use an embedded DRAM or ESRAM. So ED or ES, which is potential. They could go with separate buses, and they could go with, let's say, a couple of memory buses. For example, the PS4 has onion and garlic and so on, so it's possible they could embed 4GB of GDDR5. But the most logical solution is they're just going to do it with just one set of DRAM which is potentially going to be GDDR5 memory. And with this, they could get away with a very small console, to be totally honest, because in theory, 20nm will be pretty much normal by that point in terms of manufacturing size, and where they could get away with very small amount of cooling, because obviously it'd be 20nm if they're fairly conservative with the clocks. The power requirements will be fairly low also, and naturally, this extends into another logical thing that, well, they won't need that many DIMMs. They could go with 4 gigs, they could go with 8, or they could go with 16. 4 would possibly make sense, given that the PS4 and Xbox One are only providing 5 gigs for games developers, so if they had a very light, small footprint OS, that could possibly be a potential path for them to go down, but I really think 8GB is what they're probably going to be going with. It's possible it's going to be 16, but I guess it's going to A, depend on memory prices, and B, if they feel it's going to be required. Yeah, so we're just going to have to wait really on this one. It's kind of cool news, but moving away from consoles for a side, just for a second, the other benefit, of course, is for discrete GPUs. And what's discrete GPUs? That would be like the high-end Radeons, that would be the GeForces and so on. Because this means that they can basically pack on more memory on a smaller PCB, or they don't have to have such a large PCB. That's another way to look at it. And of course, GeForce GTX 980s and the 970s, but primarily the 980s, got some flack because they're using 4 gigs. Particularly for SLI, a lot of gamers now are starting to go towards at least 1440p, and many are going like triple monitor setups or 4K. So that means VRAM requirements are escalating quite quickly, particularly because of the next generation consoles. That means games developers can increase the visual fidelity of PC versions even further, right? Pretty simple, especially with The Witcher. But we know that there are some problems actually packing on all of that DRAM basically onto the GPU, and so this is going to also benefit the AMDs. It's going to benefit the Nvidias as well. The odd thing, however, and I'm not quite sure how this is going to function, AMD are being a bit cagey about it, and of course all we have at the moment are rumours and very subtle announcements, is that the R9 390X is going to be using 2.5D HBM. I've gone into that in the article if you need more information on that, but all that basically means is it's going to be on die RAM. And so there's some confusion of exactly how that's going to be, how much RAM they're actually going to manage to fit on there, and so on and so forth. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now. If you can do the like, favourite, subscribe, comment, share, you know, give me internet cookies or something similar, I would be very grateful indeed. Anyway, take care. Bye for now.